Have you ever felt like your thoughts kind of have a life of their own?
Mm.
Like they can actually cause things to happen?
Yeah.
It's a little spooky when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're diving deep into this book, Mind, Meaning, and Mental Disorder, to explore just that.
Okay.
How our beliefs and emotions might be even more powerful than we realize,
Right.
especially when we're thinking about things like mental well-being.
It's fascinating because we often think about mental health in terms of like the physical brain,
Yeah.
the nuts and bolts.
Uh-huh.
But this book poses this really interesting question.
Okay.
Can something as abstract as meaning
Yeah.
be a cause in like a scientific sense?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah,
It really is a head scratcher.
it is.
Because how can my thought, like, I want pizza, actually lead to me ordering one?
Right.
What's the connection there?
Well, the book argues that the connection is this thing called intentionality.
Okay.
And it's the aboutness of our mental states. Yeah, so your craving isn't just this random feeling in the void.
Yeah.
It's about the pizza.
Okay.
That directedness towards something
Gotcha.
outside of ourselves is a key part of how meaning can become a cause.
Okay, so it's not just like a simple cause and effect, like dominoes falling.
Not a one-to-one.
It's more like our minds have this built-in GPS
Yeah.
that's always pointing us towards things
Exactly.
based on what they mean to us.
Right.
But then how does that GPS get programmed in the first place?
Hmm.
Is it all about our brains?
Well, the book dives into this idea of the brain as a code maker
Okay.
for meaning.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not in the way that we usually think about it.
Right.
Like, it's not like there's a little light that turns on in your brain that says pizza
Right.
when you think about pizza.
Yeah, yeah.
It's more complex than that.
Okay.
Meaning is more like the taste of a cake.
Ooh, I like that.
It emerges from how all the different ingredients,
Yeah.
the different parts of your brain work together.
Okay, so it's a recipe, not a map.
More like a recipe, yeah.
Okay, I like that. I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
But doesn't that make it hard to study?
It does make it complicated.
Yeah.
Because if it's all about this complex interaction,
Yeah.
how can we ever really pinpoint what causes what?
Right.
Well, the authors of this book, Mind, Meaning, and Mental Disorder, suggest that we need to look beyond just these simple one-to-one relationships
Okay.
and think about the entire system and how it's all working.
Gotcha.
There's this great example of a frog's vision.
Oh, frogs.
Yeah,
Ho-
frogs are so good at catching flies,
Yeah.
but they also tend to snap at anything that is small, dark, and moving,
Oh, really?
even if it's not food.
Huh. So is the frog seeing things wrong? Does its brain have a glitch?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It's more that his vision evolved to be highly sensitive to certain features
Mm-hmm.
that usually mean food,
Gotcha.
but sometimes that system can be tricked
Okay.
because meaning isn't just about the object itself.
Yeah.
It's about how it fits into the frog's goals and its actions.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That makes me wonder about all the times that we misinterpret things.
Right.
And not because our senses are faulty, but because we're bringing our own meanings
Absolutely.
and expectations to the table.
Right.
So if meaning is so central to how our brains work,
Yeah.
how did that even come about?
Good question.
Did we just wake up one day and start assigning meaning to everything?
Not quite.
Ooh.
The book connects intentionality and evolution.
Okay.
And it does this through this concept of functional semantics.
Functional semantics.
Yeah, basically it means that the meaning of a mental state depends on its role in keeping that organism alive
Interesting.
and functioning.
Okay. Can you give me an example?
Sure.
I'm a big picture person.
Think about blushing.
Blushy.
Yeah, it serves no physical purpose.
Right.
Like, you don't need to blush.
Yeah.
But the meaning of blushing,
Uh-huh.
embarrassment,
Yeah.
helps us navigate social situations.
Yeah.
It signals to others that we care about social norms,
Right.
which helps us maintain relationships.
Interesting.
So even though blushing doesn't directly help us survive,
Yeah.
its meaning has a function that ultimately contributes to our well-being. That's functional semantics in action.
Wow. So it's like our minds evolved to create meaning.
Right.
Because meaning helps us survive,
Exactly.
even if it's not always super obvious how.
It's not always a direct line
Right.
from A to B.
But how does all of this play out in our everyday lives?
Good question.
Do we really stop and think about like the evolutionary purpose
Right.
of our thoughts and feelings every time we make a decision?
I mean, of course not. We don't do that consciously.
Right.
But the book Mind, Meaning, and Mental Disorder suggests that there are certain principles of intentional causality
Okay.
that are at play all the time,
Uh-huh.
whether we're aware of them or not.
Gotcha. So these principles, they're like the underlying code that governs how our minds make meaning.
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
But what happens when that code gets messed up?
Hmm.
Is that where mental disorders come in?
That's exactly what the book explores.
Yeah.
It kind of flips the script.
Uh-huh.
Instead of seeing mental disorders as like broken brains,
Right.
it frames them as disruptions
Okay.
to these meaning-making processes.
So it's not like the hardware is broken.
Right.
It's a software problem.
Yeah, more like the recipe got mixed up
Okay.
and the cake came out all wrong.
Oh, man. I've had that happen.
Yeah, we've all been there.
I'm intrigued by this idea, but I'm also a little nervous, to be honest.
I understand.
I mean, I've definitely had times where my thoughts felt completely out of control.
Yeah?
Does that mean my code is messed up?
Well, it's not really about good code or bad code.
Okay.
It's more about understanding how these normally adaptive processes
Uh-huh.
can sometimes get in the way of us living a fulfilling life.
Right.
Let's take anxiety as an example.
Okay.
The book suggests that sometimes the anxiety system itself
Yeah.
might be working just fine, but it gets triggered
Yeah.
in situations that aren't actually dangerous.
Oh, I've totally been there.
Yeah.
Like, I once had a full-blown panic attack before giving a presentation at work.
Oh, wow.
And it's not like my life was in danger or anything.
Right.
But my brain was sending me all these, like, threat signals anyway. It was so bizarre.
Well, your brain was doing what it evolved to do,
Yeah.
which is protect you from harm.
Okay.
But in that situation, the threat wasn't real.
Right.
It was like your mental smoke detector was going off
Uh-huh.
when there was no fire.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
So how do we, like, reprogram that faulty wiring?
That's a good question.
Can therapy actually change those deep-seated patterns?
That's the hopeful part.
Okay.
The book suggests that various therapies can be seen as ways of recoding those disrupted processes.
Interesting.
For example, cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT,
Yeah.
helps people identify and challenge those unhelpful thought patterns,
Mm-hmm.
like those threat signals in your presentation example.
Okay, so it's like learning to debug your own mental software.
Exactly. You could think of it that way.
I like that.
And there are other therapies that address these disruptions in different ways,
Okay.
like family therapy.
Yeah.
It looks at how family dynamics
Uh-huh.
might contribute to individual distress.
Makes sense.
And then there's attachment-based therapy,
Yeah.
which focuses on how early relationship experiences
Right.
shape our ability to connect with others.
So it's not just about fixing the individual. It's
Yeah.
about understanding the whole system they're embedded in.
Precisely.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And the book also delves into how these disruptions in meaning-making
Mm-hmm.
manifest in specific disorders.
Yeah.
For example, with schizophrenia.
Yeah.
It suggests that there might be disruptions in the early development of the self
Okay.
and social understanding.
So, like, if you don't have a solid sense of who you are
Right.
or how to read social cues,
Exactly.
it makes it much harder to navigate the world
Yeah.
and create meaning from your experiences.
Absolutely.
That makes a lot of sense.
And with OCD,
Yeah.
the book suggests that the struggle is often about reconciling intrusive thoughts
Mm-hmm.
with one sense of responsibility and control.
Okay.
Those intrusive thoughts feel so alien
Yeah.
and unacceptable.
Right.
And this can trigger anxiety and compulsions
Gotcha.
as a way to manage that distress.
So it's like your brain is sending you all these error messages.
Yeah.
And you're desperately trying to, like, debug the system,
Mhm.
even if the errors aren't real.
That's a great way to put it.
And then there's post-traumatic stress disorder,
Right.
which often involves this really profound challenge
Yeah.
to our core assumptions about safety and self-efficacy.
Exactly.
Like, trauma can shatter our sense of how the world works.
It can really shake the foundations.
Right, and then it makes it difficult to trust our perceptions
Mm.
and make meaning of new experiences.
It's like the code itself has been corrupted by the trauma.
Oh, wow.
And it takes a lot of work to rewrite those damaged lines.
That's intense.
Yeah. And with personality disorders.
Okay.
The book focuses on how enduring patterns of thought, feeling, and behavior
Yeah.
can create conflict and limit a person's ability to function
Okay.
in relationships in life.
Right.
These patterns often stem from early experiences,
Uh-huh.
particularly within the family,
Okay.
that shape our understanding of the world
Right.
and how we cope with it.
So it's like those early experiences lay the foundation for our personal code.
Yeah, you could say that.
And if that foundation is shaky,
Right.
the whole structure is vulnerable.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another really crucial point,
Okay.
that mind, meaning, and mental disorder emphasizes these design flaws in the mind
Yeah.
aren't just about genetics.
So it's not like you're born with like pre-programmed mental illness.
Right.
It's more nuanced than that.
Much more about the interplay of nature and nurture.
Okay.
Early experiences, especially in the family, play a huge role in shaping our understanding of the world
Right.
and how we cope with it.
That makes sense.
This is making me think about that concept of epistemological trust
Mm-hmm.
that we talked about earlier. Like
Yeah.
if you grow up in an environment where your caregivers are unpredictable
Yeah.
or even abusive,
Right.
it's going to really mess with your ability to trust your own perceptions,
I can see that.
make sense of the world.
Yeah.
And the book highlights some incredible research
Okay.
showing how early stress can actually alter gene expression.
Whoa, wait. So it's not just that our experiences shape our thoughts and feelings. But they can actually change our biology
Yeah.
on like a fundamental level.
It's a powerful illustration
Yeah.
of how nature and nurture are truly inseparable.
Wow.
Our genes provide the blueprint,
Oh.
but our experiences shape how that blueprint is expressed.
This is all pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot to digest.
I'm starting to feel like I need a mental software update myself.
Huh? Maybe we all do.
But seriously, it's fascinating to think about how much power our minds have
Yeah.
to shape our reality
It's incredible.
and how those meaning-making processes can be both incredibly resilient
Right?
and incredibly vulnerable at the same time.
Yeah. It's this paradoxical thing.
It really is.
And it really highlights the complexity of mental health
Yeah.
and reminds us that there's no one-size-fits-all approach
Right.
to understanding or treating these issues.
This is a lot to take in.
It is.
But it's also kind of empowering in a way.
Yeah.
Like, if our experiences can actually change our biology,
Right.
does that mean we have the power to change it back?
Mm.
Can we rewrite those, like, negative early experiences?
That's a fantastic question.
Yeah.
And it really gets to the heart of this discussion on mind, meaning, and mental disorder.
Yeah.
The book touches on the fact that the brain is remarkably plastic,
Okay.
meaning it can change and adapt
Mm-hmm.
throughout our lives.
Right.
And if our brains can change, then surely our ways of making meaning can change too.
So it's not like we're stuck with whatever mental software
Right.
we were programmed with as kids.
Not at all.
Oh, that's good.
Even if those early experiences have left us with some buggy code,
Mm-hmm.
we have the potential to debug it and rewrite it.
Okay. I like that.
That's where therapy comes in.
Right.
Personal growth work.
Yeah.
Even things like mindfulness and meditation practices,
Okay.
they can all be seen as tools for recoding our minds,
Gotcha.
helping us develop more adaptive ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving.
Okay, that gives me hope.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a little daunting
I knew.
to think about like reprogramming my own brain,
Right.
but at least it seems like it's possible.
It is.
I'm curious, have you ever tried any of these recoding techniques
Oh, absolutely.
in your own life?
Yeah. I'm a big believer in mindfulness.
Mm.
It's helped me become more aware of my own thought patterns
Yeah.
and how they influence my emotions and behaviors.
Makes sense.
It's like learning to observe the code in action
Okay.
without getting caught up in the program.
Right, right. So you can see it from the outside.
Exactly.
I've dabbled in meditation myself,
Yeah.
and I've noticed it does help me to create a little space between my thoughts and my reactions.
That's great.
It's like it gives me a little bit of breathing room
It does.
to make a choice.
Exactly. And that highlights another important point
Okay.
from mind, meaning, and mental disorder.
Uh-huh.
The importance of context.
Oh, context, right.
Just like that man's reaction to the bull changed
Right.
when he saw the fence.
Yeah.
Our reactions to our own thoughts and feelings can change
Yeah.
when we see them in a different light.
Oh, that's a good point.
Therapy can help us reframe those experiences
Yeah.
and create new meanings
Uh-huh.
that are more supportive of our well-being.
I love that this deep dive has been so eye-opening for me.
Good.
We've gone from mind-bending philosophical questions to the nitty-gritty of how our brains make meaning.
It's quite a range.
It is all the way to the potential for change and healing.
I think that's the most hopeful part.
It is, and if there's one thing I'm taking away from this whole deep dive,
Yeah,
it's that meaning matters.
absolutely.
Our beliefs, our interpretations, our stories,
Wow.
they're not just passive thoughts,
Yeah.
they're active forces
Yeah,
that are shaping our reality.
I love that.
And with awareness and effort,
Right.
we can harness that power
Absolutely.
to create a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
I think that's a great takeaway.
This has been awesome.
It has.
Where can our listeners go to learn more?
Well, you can start by checking out the book Mind, Meaning, and Mental Disorder. by
Perfect.
Derek Bolton and Jonathan Hill.
Awesome. This has been another fascinating deep dive.
It has.
Catch you next time.
See ya.